A lot of you watched the AFCON game. I will take that as a yes. Do you remember this guy at the AFCON, the one who took over the tournament low-key? He would always stand at, one side of the stadium where the fans are, and he would be dressed up very nicely, and he would make a posture with his hand up. And then you remember how the Algerians mocked him after beating DRC Congo in the game. And you remember how the entire Africa almost swallowed up the player that mocked the guy in the suit with the posture. And remember how Nigeria basically beat Algeria and then came out and basically kind of restored the dignity and the history of that figure. Yeah, that guy, we're going to talk about him today. Not him, the person he's trying to make us remember,
Combattant de l'indépendance, aujourd'hui victorieux, je vous salue au nom du gouvernement congolais. À vous tous, mes amis, qui avez lutté sans relâche à nos côtés, je vous demande de faire de ce 30 juin 1960 une date illustre que vous garderez ineffaçablement gravée dans vos cœurs, une date dont vous enseignerez avec fierté la signification à vos enfants, pour que ceux-ci, à leur tour, fassent connaître à leurs fils et à leurs petits-fils l'histoire glorieuse de notre lutte pour la liberté.
I saw the way the entire Africa tried to chew up that Algerian player, and the way the Nigerian footballers also came and kind of restored the dignity of that play, and everybody was like, yes, for Lumumba, for Patrice Lumumba. I was like, okay, can somebody here tell me who is Patrice Lumumba? And they said, look it up. We ain't telling you, you have Google. And so I did. Damn. I went to Google and I looked him up, and my God, why are they not teaching this in history classes? There are many reasons, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna say I have no idea. Like, we should have more of this in history class, you know what I'm saying? The first thing I read up about Patrice Lumumba was that he was born to a Catholic family in DRC, Congo. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was born there, and then he had, before he was called Patrice Lumumba, he was referred to as Elias or Etumbo. Oh, I don't even know why I bother pronouncing the name. I'm so sorry. I don't mean any disrespect. In fact, I'm gonna make that a part of my video, like just as a side view. Like if I'm disrespecting your country, if I name anybody wrong, just know that I'm sorry in advance. Anyways, the reason why I'm saying that he had a name before Patrice Lumumba was because that name, the meaning was very, very funny to me. It means the bewitched or a cursed hare who is destined to die young. I said, because Patrice Lumumba died young. So that name, damn. I mean, I think he tried to change it because the name was obviously disconcerting, but damn. Anyways, Patrice grew up in DRC Congo, which at that time was a colony of the Belgians, because those freaking people cannot stay in their country. They had a meeting in Belgium and decided, how may we add more to our boundaries, brother? And they said, you know what, I like Congo. Obviously, they didn't like Congo because of the people. Catch up. Congo has a lot of resources. They have diamonds, they have cobalt, they have uranium. So they said, I like them. No, not them. I like their resources. And the first person that started with this atrocity actually was King Leopard. Was it 2 or 4? I'm not quite sure. Who took over Congo, did a lot of atrocities, dismembered a lot of Congolese, sent bodies back for experiments, was very horrible to the people, very nice and cutesy with their resources. Typical Belgian history. It's nothing about you people feeding the poor and, just doing nice things. Always has to be something about dead blood and conquest. History is just funny and manly and annoying. Damn. Anyways, in all of that, Lumumba grew up multilingual, very smart, rose through his classes pretty quick, grew up and, began to walk his way into politics. And his love life was a little bit messy. Like, damn, he got married 3 times and he had a baby mama who I think she was married to somebody else. I'm not quite sure. And the baby mama obviously got pregnant, had his baby, and her name was Pauline. And this was after he had gotten married twice and they broke up. I don't know why. And then baby mama, and then the next person who he married for the last time, or rather who he married the third time because he did not marry the baby mama. Her name was also Pauline. So it leads me to ask, like, oh, I don't know, does he have a fetish for the name Pauline? Damn. Anyways, Lumumba kept grinding and then he got into the Liberal Party of Belgium at the time, and then he got arrested for embezzling 2,500 US dollars in funds. I don't know how true that is, but he was thrown into jail for it. I remember when I said the reason why Belgians came to Congo was because of their precious mineral resources. In case you don't know, cobalt is a mineral resource that is used to produce batteries for a lot of the products we use today, which explains Congo's crisis up to this day, although I heard that there's been an agreement between Rwanda and Congolese president over some sort of truce, and I also saw that some of their military troops were being withdrawn from Congo today, because in case you are not aware, currently Congo has just been a cesspool of different militant groups fighting each other over Congo's resources, and then the Congolese people who are the owners of the resources were just left there to suffer sold out by their governments, as is the romantic history of most African countries. Yeah, that was a mouthful. My point is, back then in Patrice Lumumba's time, Belgium was not the only person that had a meeting within themselves and said, I want Congo for their resources. Oh no, they were not the only ones. The US, particularly the CIA, and then the UK were also very much interested in getting their hands on the blood diamonds and the resources of Congo. Right before Congo's independence, Lumumba formed a party, I think it was called the MRNC or thereabout. And in this party, it was like any other, unlike any other. Basically, they were anti-imperialist in a way, and they were not tribalistic. Anybody could come and join, because I think tribe is just a major issue in most African countries. The fact that you people are not from the same tribe, but you fight each other, but yet all of you are under one country, would always be very hilarious and stupid to me, because it's still causing some problems in 2026. Patrice, if you could see this video somehow, maybe your spirit, you would know that that same thing that kind of ruined your presidency in Congo, yeah, it's still kind of being used till this day. I know, 2026, and some people just don't grow up here, bombo class. Sorry. Anyways, he formed this party, which was very, very much anti-imperialist, trying to bring unify all ethnic tribes and say, hey, we are one. At the end of the day, no matter what you are, we are still Congolese. It's literally supposed to be us versus these people who are coming in and using us against each other, right? And of course, the Belgian authorities did not like that. Ugh, they arrested him for inciting violence. So what are you trying to do, man? Can't you let us rule and steal and plunder your people in peace? No. He got released out of jail, and then he came out, and then not long after that, Congo gained its independence. But before Belgium leave, Belgium can leave. Imperialist, empires can leave. Does not mean that they really leave. So they said, okay, we want to put a government in charge. Obviously, you're going to keep up and do a better job than us. Imagine telling the owner of a land that he must try to, you will choose who will try to keep up the status quo just as you have. It's a disrespect for me. But okay. So anyways, at this point, there was Lumumba's party, and then there was some other dude, which is very important to the story. His name was Kasavabu. Again, so sorry. Anyways, so the Belgians were like, so who are we going to give the power to? You guys are going to need to come to an agreement between yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, so obviously everybody was like, Lumumba, Lumumba, we want Lumumba. And then the Belgians was like, but you guys have to come to a compromise. I think the reason why they kept forcing a compromise and they were just giving the entire thing to Lumumba was because they wanted somebody that they could still kind of control. And I think that is where Mr. Kabu Vasa was really, they really needed him to be in some sort of power in the government. Anyway, so they had several meetings and tussle between themselves with Mr. with Mr. Kasavubu saying, okay, Lumumba, I'm gonna let you, be the prime minister and all of that, but if you're gonna have the major run of this government, I would like to request for about 7 ministerial positions in your government, including the Ministry of Finance. And I'm very sure, and I know that Patrice said, hell
No.
no, and even me, because what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Why are you trying to be in control of the country's money? If you don't have plans, you think it's under you people's kind of government that 2 plus 2 begins to equal 3,588.95556 billion trillion. Quick maths. All in Africa. Sponsored by corruption. Anyways, I was like, I'm very sure Patrice was like, and I was like, boy, if it's not get your, you know what I'm saying? So he said, nah, what are you trying to run the country's money for? Hell nah. And he said, okay, you caught me, all right. And then they did a lot of back and forth, but eventually Patrice Lumumba was made the prime minister. A lot of his people got into government, very diverse, and then Kasavubu was made a ceremonial president. So he was president of the country, but more of a figurehead. The executive power went to Patrice Lumumba. Remember how I said that the Belgians, the UK, the US did not like Patrice? Well, would you believe this, that the minute Patrice stepped into power, a lot of mutinies began to break out from the soldiers to different ethnic groups similar to Boko Haram, similar to a lot of militant groups among the countries or along or in the countries in Africa, however English to make it understand. So all these ethnic groups started, what's the word? Busting out. And some European citizens that were there, Belgians actually got injured. Some were killed. So Belgium says, no, we won't let you, kill our citizens who are coming in. And in my mind, I was just like, you could have just airlifted the Belgians out, right? You do not have to send a troop of 6,000 Belgian soldiers to come into Congo. But we all know the kind of game you're playing. We know what you're trying to do. So the Belgians came under the guise of, we want to protect our Belgian citizens. We draw them. Damn. But they said, no, wanna fight. And then they went there. Guess what? After they were done fighting, which by the way, they made things worse because they came and they had clash with the Congolese army and then a lot of people were killed. So now they just made things go from 50 to 1,500. And so Patrice was like, I called you in for help. You all made things worse. I would like to ask all of you to get your soldiers out of my country. What do you mean? And they said, no, we want to stay. We love Congolese people. Obviously, no, hell no. They know what they were doing. They needed to mess up his government. They were looking for a way to remove him, to make him look incompetent. Like, when I was going through Patrick's story, I felt so bad for him because it was almost like he was one person versus 10,000 people. And you understand why he did. Anyways, Patrick had to turn to the UN. I was like, I'm gonna need you all to help me get this out of my country because this was not what the initial plan was. And the UN sent in people, but they were not successful at removing the Belgian troops. Oh my god. So it was like things were getting even more worse. Eventually the Congo crisis, they call it the Congo crisis, began to spiral. A lot of people were, just against him. A lot of foreign powers, namely the CIA of the US, the UK, and Belgium. There were a lot of them sponsoring all these pop-up radios in Congo that would come and exaggerate Patrice Lumumba's weaknesses and how it's not really effective at his job, and how emphasizing, look at all the deaths that are happening, look at the bad things that's happening in the country. So people were more inflamed against the prime minister. It was a lot. Okay, so Patrice, desperate, traveled out to look for help. He went to the US. He said, we're only going to help you to the UN. He went to several other countries. So we're only going to help you to the UN. I think the only people that even tried to help him a bit at that time was the president of Ghana and then desperate began to also turn to Communist Party, which by the way, the US has said they did not want any form of communism entering into Africa. That was the reason why they were against Patrice. But first of all, before that man turned to Soviet Union and China, he met the US first for help. So if that was really the reason, you all would have helped him and Congo would have lived anti-communism ever after. But no, you did not like him because he was there to unify the people. And we all know a united people will do much more damage than an anti or rather an imperialist puppet. We all know that, don't we? So he went around begging people for help. Did not answer him. When he turned to the Soviet Union and China, I think they assisted in the sending some soldiers to help and all of that. But the crisis just continued to, even if you put them down, it's like fires, little fires. You put out one and then another one springs up. So a lot of things are just happening at the same time. And you know that when, things are happening at the same time. Now, remember the other president dude who was just a figurehead? Is Casa Vubu, help me Lord. That's why I think things began to spiral out of even more control. King Leopold, whatever it is of him that is his name. His grandson was having a birthday party and the Patrice Lumumba was invited. And when he went there, they made it seem like, oh, we're so nice to Congo, you know what I'm saying? Like Congo should be so grateful. And Patrice was like, excuse you, this is the reality of what you all did to us in Congo. Why are you playing? Why are you trying to act like we're all besties? We're not. And I feel like that made him even more of a target because by the time he returned home, things had spiraled even more out of control. Now, under Patrice Lumumba's party was some dude called Mubatu. There is a whole lot of resource on how he turned out to be for Congo later. I think he turned out to be one of their nightmares. I don't even know. By that time, Patrice was still kind of under Lumumba, and at this point, the Belgian and UN puppet, who is the president that we mentioned, Casa Vubu, and Lumumba started going at each other like, he was like, oh, you cannot handle the country, just resign and let me take over. And Lumumba was like, you imperialist puppet, this is why I don't like you, this is why I collected the executive power, your mama's fat, your head is fat. Okay, he did not say these last two things, but I just feel like we should throw it in there. Anyways, they went at each other. Mubatu was at first trying to be on Lumumba's side, but eventually he just said, you know what, this is a confused party. I could literally take power for myself. And he did. He did a coup type situation and got Lumumba under house arrest. And then, he came under the guise of, Hail Belgium, I am the anti-communist love that you've been looking for a very long time. And Belgium and the CIA, and he felt like, yes, him. He will bow to our wishes. He is the one with all his curves and all his edges, all his perfect imperfections. Give your all to me. Anyways, it was a love story. They said, okay, Mubutu, we're going to support you. What do you need? And they gave him what he needed. So basically, he did a coup. Lumumba was locked up. Lumumba obviously locked up does not mean he's not powerless, you know what I'm saying? So he still was considered very dangerous. All right. So at first they did not kill him, but by the time he started to make certain moves, they're like, yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go. So there are a lot of mixed stories about his death, but he was executed basically. At first, Mubatu captured him and kept him somewhere, and they kept moving him from location to location, but eventually he was executed. People say Belgians killed him, some say somewhere in the Katanga region of Congo, which is basically the place where most of the resources are. Wanted him dead because they wanted white man money for resources. You know, that stupid mindset where you feel like you cannot, you know, grind your resources by yourself. You need the white man to come and do it for you, and then you get money and only you know, those kind of foolish people. A lot of conflicting theories, but he was executed, and I think Kasa Vubu thought that, oh, it's my time to shine, and then Mobutu, who had already shown that if I could betray Lumumba, who are you, did a second coup and seized power and proceeded to become one of Congo's most corrupt political figure ever. They basically said he converted 60% of national treasury into his own personal income. Do you know it is to rob your own country of 60% of their money? There are thieves, and then there is terrorism, and then there's Mubatu. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Anyway, so this is how Patrice Lumumba died. I generally believe he was set up. Everything was set up from the very beginning. They just, liked him. They didn't like what he what he stood for. They did not like his ideology. They did not like what he represented. They exaggerated a lot of things he was doing. After his death, he came out like, oh yeah, the CIA, the UK, and the Belgians, all of them were all linked to his death. And a lot of things they did were exaggerated of what was actually happening. In Lumumba, a lot of documents came out exposing the plots to kill him and assassinate him from a very long time ago. So, as anybody who is entering politics, this is one advice I have. You must learn to pray. You must learn to lean into God for help. If you think you can just come in and rule with a good heart is not enough. In fact, most people with good hearts don't even get into politics because they're always the first meal on the chopping block. So if you're going to go into politics, two things actually. One, covenant. Two, ruthlessness. These are the things that you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need the support of the people. And a few other things, but these are the two basic things I think you need. And sometimes the people you're trying to rule, they don't even know what's good for them. That's why I'm not 100% against dictatorship, because some people who are citizens are fools. Imagine that a man is trying to unify and bring, development and new ideologies to your nation, but no, you begin to sell out yourself to the white man. Well, I knew that some people should not be allowed to vote when I learned that during slave trade, a lot of Africans sold out other Africans because the white man gave them mirrors. Mirrors. That's when I knew that, oh yeah, no, even till this day, there are a lot of people like that. They would rather vote for incompetent government because that's what they've known for a very long time, or find a way to prevent good governance from coming in because they can get a few illegal deals here and there that will set only them and their family up for life, and then leave the rest of us, the rest of the other people, drowning and all of that. Let me know what you learned from this story. And with respect to Patrice Lumumba, I see why he's revered, I see why he's a legend, and honestly, honor and respect to his family. Bye.